In the summer of 1518, the streets of Strasbourg became a stage for one of history's most baffling and tragic mysteries, the dancing plague. Hundreds of people were struck by an uncontrollable urge to dance, their bodies twisting and twirling in agonizing movements. Some danced themselves to exhaustion, others to death. What caused this bizarre event? Was it mass hysteria, a poisoned feast, or something far more mysterious? Stay tuned as we dive into the haunting story of the dancing plague of 1518. It all started with a single woman. In July 1518, a resident of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, stepped into the streets and began to dance. She didn't seem joyful or celebratory. Her movements were compulsive, almost desperate. This woman, later identified as Frau Trophäa, danced for hours, then days, without rest. As her bizarre behavior continued, others began to join. By the end of the week, dozens of men and women were overtaken by the same uncontrollable urge to dance. They moved without rhythm or music, unable to stop, as though possessed by an unseen force. By August, the phenomenon had engulfed the city. Reports estimate that as many as 400 people were dancing in the streets, their movements growing more frantic with each passing day. The local authorities, desperate for answers, turned to the city's physicians. But rather than offer a cure, the doctors provided a baffling diagnosis: hot blood. They believed the dancers were suffering from an overheating of the body that could only be expelled through more dancing. In a bizarre twist, the city constructed a stage, hired musicians, and even brought in professional dancers to encourage the afflicted to dance their way to recovery. But instead of curing them, the ordeal became deadly. Some dancers collapsed from sheer exhaustion. Others succumbed to strokes and heart attacks. By the end of the plague, it's believed that several lives were lost, though the exact number remains unknown. So, what could have caused such a strange and tragic event? Over the centuries, historians and scientists have offered several theories to explain the dancing plague. One of the most widely accepted theories is that the plague was a case of mass hysteria. In 1518, Strasbourg was facing immense hardship. Disease and famine were ravaging the city, leaving its residents stressed, fearful, and vulnerable. Add to this the superstitions of the time, particularly the belief in Saint Vitus, a Catholic saint thought to curse people with uncontrollable dancing, and you have the perfect conditions for a psychological phenomenon. According to this theory, the dancing was a collective response to extreme stress and fear. Another possibility is ergot poisoning. Ergot is a toxic mold that grows on damp rye, a staple of the medieval diet. When consumed, it can cause hallucinations, spasms, and even bizarre physical movements. Some researchers suggest that the residents of Strasbourg unknowingly ingested ergot-contaminated bread, triggering their strange behavior. However, this theory doesn't fully explain why the dancing lasted for weeks or why it affected so many people simultaneously. Others speculate that the dancers may have been part of a religious cult or an ecstatic ritual that spiraled out of control. In a time when faith often blended with fear, it's not far-fetched to imagine a group succumbing to fervent religious devotion. But again, this theory struggles to account for the scale and fatal consequences of the event. The dancing plague of 1518 finally came to an end in September, nearly 2 months after it began. The city's authorities, now believing the affliction to be a curse, took the remaining dancers to a mountaintop shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus. There, they prayed for absolution and performed rituals to break the supposed spell. Afterward, the dancing ceased. Though the plague ended, It left behind a legacy of unanswered questions and countless lives forever changed. Similar outbreaks occurred in other parts of Europe, including Switzerland, Germany, and Holland, though none were as large or deadly as the one in Strasbourg. The dancing plague remains one of history's most mysterious and unsettling events. Was it a psychological reaction to unimaginable stress, a case of poisoned bread, or something we may never fully understand? What we do know is that it serves as a powerful reminder of how deeply our minds and bodies can be affected by the world around us. Whether this event was fueled by superstition, environmental factors, or the collective psyche of a desperate population, it leaves us with an eerie sense of how history's mysteries can echo into our present. What do you think caused the dancing plague of 1518? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Hidden Histories for more tales from the past that continue to baffle us today.